Hello and welcome to Good Morning DRC TV. Breaking news this morning is the capture of the Venezuela President Nicolás Maduro. He is the man that Trump has been wanting to get rid of from power, and we know in the few weeks or even a couple of months gone by, there has been an escalation in terms of exchange between Washington and the government in Venezuela, where the US accused the government in Venezuela of supporting or at least bringing in drugs into the US, and also for the millions of migrants that have immigrated to the US. And according to the US, the government was not a legitimate one, that it didn't win elections in 2024, and so therefore President Trump really wanted to get rid of the man. But what has happened this morning is just really beyond anybody's dream, or at least we didn't expect this, we didn't see it coming, and a lot of people just thought this was psychological kind of warfare, in that they wanted to just basically get the Maduro government to give in to the US, if you like, pressure. But it has taken a different twist, where we currently understand that Maduro has been captured, and this is the breaking news, and I just want you to listen in on this one at the moment.
That the US has carried out a large-scale strike against Venezuela and its leader, President Nicolás Maduro, who has been, along with his wife, captured and flown out of the country. This operation was done in conjunction with US law enforcement. Details to follow. An incredible development in this, and one that seems to have not have been expected by Venezuelan authorities. We still don't know where President Maduro and his wife will be now. All we know from President Trump's statement is that they were captured and flown out of the country. We have not heard anything from Venezuela about that. But let's look now at who is the Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro. A former bus driver and union leader, Nicolás Maduro has led Venezuela since 2013, following the death of his mentor, Hugo Chavez. In 2024, he was declared president for a third term in an election widely denounced as rigged. The opposition says its leader won that election by a landslide. Donald Trump blames Maduro for the arrival of hundreds of thousands of Venezuelan migrants into the US. 8 million people are estimated to have fled the country since 2013 due to economic crisis and repression. President Trump has also focused on fighting the influx of drugs into the US. He's alleged that Maduro is himself involved in the drug trade. Maduro denies being a cartel leader and accuses the US of using its war on drugs as an excuse to depose him and to get access to Venezuela's vast oil reserves. Well, with me now is our global affairs reporter, Mimi Swaby. Mimi, incredible turn of events that we have been following this morning. How significant is that latest development, the announcement of President Trump, that President Maduro and his wife have been captured and flown out of the country following this large-scale strike?
It's incredibly significant. Many inside and outside Venezuela wouldn't believe it true only a matter of hours, if not days ago. The idea that there would be land strikes was something that has been warned for a long time now. However, it was thought by many that it was more of psychological warfare than it would actually happen. We've seen more than 35 strikes on alleged vessels carrying drugs from both Venezuela and on the other side of the continent in the Pacific Ocean, killing more than 110 people. But to actually go into the country itself, do land strikes there, and now allegedly capture Mr. Maduro and his wife and remove him from Venezuela is an unprecedented move. It's kind of been Mr. Maduro's tactic to hunker down.
Yes, it is true that the U.S. Has actually, if you like, captured President Maduro. But yes, there are a number of questions. For me, as far as I'm concerned in this situation, I'm thinking about what is happening in the eastern part of Congo, where we have the U.S. That has entered into an agreement with the DRC to do business with the DRC, and in return, the U.S. is there to, if you like, secure a peace agreement with the Rwandan government to actually leave the Congo peacefully. Now, what we have seen happen since that peace agreement in Washington is that there has not been any peace at all in that region. In fact, the day after that peace agreement was reached, the M23 and the AFC of Nanga, backed by the Rwanda army, they invaded Uvira. And we've seen, obviously, what has unfolded in those days that they have taken it. And in the last 30 years, as you would know, if you have been following us for a little while, that more than 20 million people have lost their lives, and this continues to this very day. And we know that if things are in that region the way it is at the moment, is also to some level the involvement of the US. Okay, the US armed President Kagame for a long time, and they have supported him along with the British government to do what he has been able to do. Now that President Trump has come into power, and there is a shift of focus and there is a shift of interest because the DRC government wants to do business with the US directly, and it has been agreed and signed also in the White House not too long ago here. So what we're seeing right now is, why is it that the M23 and the AFC of Nanga still carries on doing its dirty work in that region to this very moment, when the US is actually involved in this? Now, there are only two reasons that can explain this attitude. It's either the US is blessing, or RE is allowing Rwanda to carry on doing what it's doing, or it is actually putting pressure that is not yet seen amongst the people of Congo. And so what I am seeing, as I'm seeing this happen right now, I see that if it is true that the US is putting pressure on President Kagame and he is ignoring it, then I can only see that this will escalate to the point where, if not, what has happened to President Maduro can also happen in Rwanda. Okay, because as far as I'm concerned, the US is only doing this because of its interest in Venezuela. It's not doing it because they love the Venezuela people. It's not doing it because they care so much about them, because there are millions of people in the US that are going through a difficult time at the moment. There are issues that can be dealt with in the US, and all that money that is being spent for war, it can actually be directed towards solving issues in the US. But if it's not doing it, it is because they have other interests that they deem more important than now. And saying that, I can also see that what is happening in the Great Lake region, if it is going against the interests of the US, then they will step in order to do something about this. So as I look at it, as I see it, as I say, unless the US is behind what is going on there, then what has happened to President Maduro can also happen to President Kagame. Put it that way, because you are interfering with American interests. Now, is the Congo, now we have to understand, if the Congo has given access to minerals to the US, it is for the purposes of bringing peace. It is for the purpose of bringing peace. And if that peace is not yet there, it is because the US is not, or at least to the observer, is that the US is not putting enough pressure, because we know that when the US decides to put a stamp down, it will happen. So right now, what we want to see in that region is that peace come back to the DRC, and we want to see the AFC and M23 of Nanga stop doing what they're doing at the moment. And we know that this will happen if the US mount pressure in that region. So for me, what is happening in Venezuela can also happen in the Greater Lake region. But we'll see how things are unfolding. But this to me tells me that yes, when with this regime, because they have their own agenda, they have their own interests that they're following, and it is the same interest that they're following in the DRC. So let's step up the pressure. Let's do what we can to put pressure on Kagame, to put pressure on the AFC and M23 to stop the killing in that region and bring peace. That is what the Congolese people want at the moment. And as I said, we must continue to put pressure and do what we have to do until peace comes back to the Democratic Republic of Congo.